Provo, Utah. This is the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast with your hosts, Joseph DeGolier and Caleb Schweitz. This is Ultima Final Fantasy.
Welcome to another episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the ultimate Final Fantasy podcast. I am your host, Caleb.
And I'm your other host, Joe.
And today we are going to be talking about some stuff and some things
Oh
in
my
Final
god,
Fantasy.
you're taking my shit.
Yeah? What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
I said that like 5 episodes ago.
Oh, I don't listen to the show. I just...
You're on the show.
Yeah, but I mean, it's in one ear and out the other, right?
Okay, we're gonna be talking about some stuff and some things.
Yeah, some stuff and some things. Yeah, we're going to discuss Final Fantasy movies. You guys know our opinions on them. And we're going to kind of dive into why we feel like they are shitty and what it takes to, what we think they can do to make a good movie. And I'm not just talking like hire David Fincher and you have a good movie. It's what they can do
That's
internally.
not necessarily true either.
yes. But for the most part, it is true. Before we get into any of that shit, though, where are you in FF14?
I am still in Heavensward, Schweiss, believe it or not. I think the last thing we did was a big fight with the whale.
Yeah, we killed the whale. Yeah,
We did kill the whale.
I didn't participate.
Which was a pretty... It's true. Which was a pretty fun fight. It wasn't as difficult as like the dungeon that came before it, though. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, the dungeon that came before the... Oh, shit, I can't remember what it was called. It was like the...
It's not the Aloy. It's the one after. It's the...
I can't remember. It was insanely hard, though. And it was funny because
It was brutal.
my character's name is Sir Husk, and I spelled it S-E-R, right? And we were in there with a bunch of knights whose names were S-E-R, and so I thought,
My
great.
brothers.
Yeah, I was like waving at them before the fight started. I'm like, guys.
That piece of coding where if you have part of the name of someone else in the game.
They just don't damage you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It was sick, though.
That's a trick
I
in
mean,
14.
Yeah, it's an unknown trick. But I figured they would go easy on me because we're like, we're like twinsies or whatever the fuck, and we all have the same first name, but they didn't care. They still sent their little chess piece bastards after me, and that final boss in there was crazy. We died many times on that shit.
Yeah, and my heals were not doing as good as they should have been.
Yeah, and didn't your stuff like break near the end, or?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I looked at my inventory to like, maybe I can update a little bit. Maybe I didn't update before. I looked at my inventory and it was suddenly everything was in red.
Oh,
and I was like, oh fuck, I'm probably the reason why we're losing this thing so bad. And I didn't say anything. Just said my equipment wasn't bad. Wasn't
Nice.
good, and it was not good. It was fine at the beginning, though.
So your heals were less than they should have
I
been?
think my heals were probably less than they should have been.
Okay, yeah, because when the last time I did White Mage and my stuff broke, they were like a third as potent as they normally are. So it was really brutal.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know if like all my equipment was bad. It was just like it seemed like my weapon and a few other things were bad, and so I was just not doing as good. And we struggled.
Yeah, it was a tough fight, but we powered through. The ending was pretty interesting though, because like right as I died, I did like one last little spell, like a scathe on the main boss, and then everyone fell except for Judge Cloudprod, and he, our tank, finished the job. It was intense. Yeah.
I gotta say, you mentioned that you weren't in the lunar whale fight.
Yes. I mean, I was there, but
You were there, but only in spirit.
Yes, very much so.
The first thing that happened, so we tried the fight twice. So I guess he was kind of difficult. But on the first round, there was suddenly a dude who was just grayed out, and I couldn't heal. And I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I cannot heal this guy. And you were talking to me like, oh, you should be able to hover over him. Like, I can't touch him. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Turns out you could fall on the lunar whale fight, which I didn't know, because there's a certain part where you like hop onto the lunar whale when it gets close, sort of like fighting Sin in FF10.
Yeah, you
Where
attack
he
him
gets close and everybody
range,
attacks him, and then when he flies off, you like fly in the air for a little bit and lands you back down to safety. But apparently, you can fall off, and Schweiss,
Yeah,
you fell right the fuck off the second round.
Yeah, we start the second round off, and they're like, "Hey, you got to stand on the eye to deal damage when he comes close, right?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's easy enough." He comes in close, he's getting there, and I like walk, and I just kind of like walk off the edge. Like I just assumed that the map would stop me from walking off the edge, like it normally does in these kind of situations. But this time, the game said, "No, you fall." And I just sat there. I was like, and it's weird because I entered first person view and I was like in the urn thing in the center of the map, but you still couldn't resurrect me. And so I just spent the entire fight dead. Like this was right at the beginning of the fight too, the very beginning. So I just sat out. Yeah, it was
like a champ. We beat him.
Yeah, it was great.
We needed the other guy though, because we lost when we didn't have the other guy. But when you died, Schweiss, somehow we did just fine.
Hey, easy. That guy probably did have more DPS than me though, because I didn't have my Black Mage quests done until later that night. Now I've got everything up to I need to hit level 60, and then I can do the level 60 quest, and I'll be capped out. For
I'm the same way with my White Mage.
Yeah, so that we were a little behind. We were basically, I guess, according to Judge, we were using Realm Reborn characters in the Heavensward content at that point because we were just that much lower on the DPS and healing and stuff. So it's a big difference, I guess. So, and I enjoy Blizzard 4 and Fire 4. They're pretty insane.
Yeah, White Mage has an amazing ability at level 58 that just like does damage to everything it's like an AoE attack. It does damage to everything and heals everyone around you and gives you more MP.
Oh wow.
It doesn't heal them to an amazing extent, but it's a great thing when you're running low on MP and like Shroud of Saints is not good enough. Shroud of Saints is the right one, right? Whatever. It's the one with the weird old man on the image. Anyway, when that thing doesn't work quite as well as you need it to, that's one more extra little push, and it refreshes a lot quicker. Of course, we'll find out if all those mechanics are the same later, because there was a patch. Stormblood was released. Am I...
Early access.
Early access? Okay. So they did give us a patch, and I believe we do have to play by their rules now. From what I was hearing, Duty Finder was filled up last night, so no one could use the Duty Finder.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Which I'm sure was a lot of fun. Hopefully they fix that by the time we get back on there. Otherwise, I've been playing the last 3 days of the week. I've been playing Horizon Zero Dawn like crazy for Nude Clan.
Oh, okay.
And the review will be coming up for that next week because I only have 2 more quests to do in it. And I'm done.
Yeah, our 14 was kind of cut off, though. The last day we had maintenance for this update, so we were only able to play Tuesday and Wednesday. I did make some pretty good...
Oh, it was also cut off because of Metallica.
Yes, yeah, the week before we got we got screwed over from that.
Oh, screwed over from Metallica?
Yeah,
oh my God, Metallica just came in and ruined everything.
They did. They ruined our 14.
Yeah, we were forced to go to Colorado.
Yeah.
Instead of play 14. Oh.
Gunpoint.
Oh my God. It was just the worst when they set us up to be in the pit at the Broncos stadium.
Yeah, and we didn't even play.
Oh
they didn't even
God.
play Nothing Else Matters. It was pointless.
Well, they sort of played Nothing Else Matters. They played it on the video.
Yeah. That doesn't count.
Were you really disappointed they didn't play Nothing Else Matters?
No, it's not that big of a deal.
Because, you know, when they came to Salt Lake, they played Nothing Else Matters. They did not play Fade to Black. This time I got Fade to Black and no Nothing Else Matters.
Yeah, well,
they must pick one. They're like, okay, which...
Nothing Else Matters was in the set list, but it got cut.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so I Fade to Black is basically the same song.
No, it felt like a great full concert regardless.
I know.
Two songs were cut because of rain, which was insane, by the way.
Yeah.
Never been in quite that. That felt like a huge moment. Like all these people getting covered in rain, shitload of lightning.
Yeah, it was
We all had
awesome.
to go... Well, I went to safety. A lot of people stayed out because they were like, ride the lightning, because they're fucking idiots. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be on this metal thing surrounded by all these people, all of which could be struck by lightning just fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and go to safety, and if like 500 people die because the lightning strikes in the right spot and just spreads out, I don't want to be one of them. I just don't want to be part of
that's
that.
fair.
Now, it would probably never strike where we were at. It would definitely strike up a lot higher, but
fry some
still.
people in the stadium
yeah.
seats.
So I lost my good spot when we all had to go under, but it was still fun. It was still great.
Yeah,
Great
it
show.
was totally worth missing 14 for.
Sorry. Metallica is my first love.
It's funny though because we had that moment where we were like, we can finish this, we can do this before
my
Heaven's Word comes out, and it's like, no, you can't. The level caps are too great in this thing, and like even where I'm at right now, I'm level 59. I'm ahead of the curve. I'm beyond where I need to be. I think I'm
There's
still
like
gonna
4
have to
level
grind.
58 quests though. It's not going to be enough to.
Yeah, it's nowhere near, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna have to sit in that long queue for my dailies as a black mage. Hopefully, I get another party member in there to kind of reduce that time. But
There's so many level 60 quests though.
yeah.
I do wonder when the Heaven's Word or the Stormblood things that you can buy to level up your character. Will you be able to get to level 70 with that, or do you only get to up to level 60?
I think it gives you up to level 60 from what I read.
Okay. All right. So it just catches you up to Stormblood.
Yeah. You're just caught up to the game.
Man, I was hoping next time I get on this game, I'll just for $20 or whatever it is.
Yeah, and you're
then
level 70.
level 70, and I zoom through the Stormblood content.
Yeah, well, I think now, though, we should be getting XP for the level 60 quests once they patch that. Because remember with...
I
Heaven's
don't
Word-
have Stormblood, so I have no idea what it's going to do. You will probably be that way. Because didn't you buy Stormblood?
Yeah, I did. I haven't applied anything to my account, though, so they don't know I bought it yet.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, like, when Heaven's Word was... Okay, so initially the level cap was 50, right?
Right.
And all of the level 50 quests we played this time just gave us like 48,000 XP. Really garbage, right? Not enough XP to do shit with.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to probably do the same for the level 60 quests. So we're going to hit those level 60 quests, and we're going to probably get a little bit of XP for them. It's not going to be much, but it's going to be more than everyone else got before they had XP. So that'll be nice. That'll make it a little bit easier once we get to the Dragon Song War content. We'll get maybe a level or two out of it. I don't know. But yeah, it's crazy. And I mean, there was a day where I like sat down and I was like, all right, so I pulled up my stream and I'm like, okay, I need this much XP to level up to the next level. I have 6 quests for this much XP, and my deficit is this. And it was like 500,000 or something like that. And I had like 10 quests lined up, and I was like, shit, man.
God damn it.
It's just sick. And I was like, all right, well, every day we're going to do dailies. That's just how it's going to have to be.
And then you went to Metallica.
Yeah, and then it ruined it. It ruined it all. But
Terrible Metallica concert.
I know.
Awful. Ruined
Yeah,
it so
was,
bad.
Yeah. It was
Just kidding. Metallica was
Waste of-
fucking awesome once again.
a waste of $200, right?
Oh my god, dude, it was great. Next time I am getting seats though. There's
Yeah.
too many people in GA for those stadium concerts. I think like a good seat, like the bottom of the seats, that are near the GA. I think
Yeah.
that would be a better place because I actually like to see the band, and I saw them, but I saw them through people that are 6'5".
Yeah.
Just standing there. There should be like height requirements and like sections of different heights. Like if you're 4 foot tall, you go right in the front. Just go ahead, go right in the front because you'll be barely able to see past the stage.
Right.
And then we move up from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you. Best song at the show? Well, I mean, the greatest song of all time was One. There's no denying it.
One is the greatest song of all time. What is it? It's that song from the new album where they brought out all the drums and like all the band members were playing the big drums. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a great show, though.
So good. God damn, dude. Fucking love Metallica. I don't know if I've made that clear on this show yet.
I don't think you quite have. I mean,
Okay.
it's. I'm sure they know, but they don't know to what level, to what end kind of thing.
All right. So speaking of this show, you can find us at facebook.com/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can go to youtube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy, see our previous streams, and check us out. Check out the songs that Dave Mustaine has made. Another one on the way. Really, it's actually on the way. Have heard some stuff. Sounds pretty good, I would say.
Yeah, I liked it. Liked what I
So
heard.
we'll get to that pretty soon. You can go to twitch.tv/Ultimate Final Fantasy. See us do the episodes live every Saturday, or not every Saturday, but most Saturdays we're
Yeah,
live.
yeah.
It'll give you a little announcement if we're on. Usually about noon Mountain Standard Time. It's supposed to be at 11, but it never is.
Yeah,
So,
shit happens. AC breaks down. We roast alive.
yeah.
Yep.
It's good shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can tweet me at UFF Podcast.
You can tweet me at Joseph DeGolier, and our website is ultimatefinalfantasy.com, where you can join our forums. Totally forgot to ask a question on last week's show. Sorry about that, guys. So we've gotten a shitload of news in the feed instead.
Yes. Oh yes.
Which is great. So thank you, Shinru, for giving us news. By the way, on our website, he does put the biggest piece of news out as an article, usually about every Friday, I believe. So check out those as well, and give him comments if you read those. Probably pretty helpful. Anyway, want to get to some good old news?
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it. All right. So today we had a surprising amount of news. It's like some sort of gaming convention thing happened or some shit. I don't know. It's
Some little thing.
I think it's called 3E. I don't get it. But
Ethray or something?
Ethray, yeah. First up, very minor news. Hardly Final Fantasy. Hironobu Sakaguchi to reveal new Mistwalker game in 5 days from today, but
Final Fantasy 16.
3 days
Damn.
for you guys. And he is also working with our good friend, great friend of the show, Hironobu Sakaguchi.
Good.
Or no, Sakaguchi is working with Uematsu. Sorry.
Uematsu.
Yes. Sakaguchi
I'm
obviously
glad he's
is working
with himself.
Yeah, he's working with Mistwalker, his studio, and also the legendary Uematsu. Great show last time, by the way. Very similar to the first time. But
It was, and
still
we got to meet a listener and his girlfriend,
Yeah.
which was very cool. Troy Kavanaugh, the guy who gave us the FF15 stuff, and also Tales of Zestiria.
Yeah.
We ate some food with him, and then we went to the concert, and it was a good concert.
Yeah, it was
Another good concert.
It was a good night. It was a
There
lot
you
of fun. So picked Logica, blah, 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 Final Fantasy. Picked Logica. Okay, again with the names. Coming to 3DS in Japan on the 12th of July.
That was originally a mobile game, right? Am I crazy?
It is a free-to-play download via the Nintendo eShop. It was originally released for the iOS and Android.
Ha-ha! We don't
in
have to play it.
October 2013.
We do not have to play it.
Yeah, I guess you're supposed to complete.
There's another one
pixelized
for your guys'
images.
list, Chronitol, and
Yeah, it looks like a
Jake.
weird puzzle game. I
Yeah.
actually kind of remember. I kind of remember seeing this one in the store, I believe, but of course, when I'm never gonna play it.
never gonna play it.
So speaking of weird Final Fantasy news, we are actually getting an escape room for the Final Fantasy XIV Trials of Bahamut. This thing is coming to the United States this summer. Let's see, we got some dates here. L.A., we're getting it June 16th, 28th.
What the fuck is this?
You don't know what an escape room is?
No.
Okay, so they're actually pretty awesome. I think this would be a fun Nude Clan thing. You go into a room, and you basically just figure out how to get out of the room. We did one here a little while ago with my work, like about a year ago, and...
So it's like Saw?
Yeah, it's kind of like Saw, but you don't have to kill anybody.
Or do you?
Yeah. Yeah, we had one here that was like... it was an ancient Egypt one, and there was like a little hieroglyphics on the wall, and like we had to decipher the hieroglyphics and figure out like passwords to find out where shit was located to then like open up the next room and then get out of the room. So it's like a trial, like a trial of the mind kind of a thing. These escape rooms, so they're actually
What?
pretty cool. Yeah, There's one.
I've never heard of this concept.
Really?
Ever.
Wow, yeah. There's one in Provo on Center Street, so it's pretty close by. That's the one we went to. It's called Get Out Games.
Wow.
Yeah, so this would be pretty cool if we, lived in California. There's another one at the Anime Expo in LA. That's going to be from July 1st through 3rd.
We would also have to deal with living in California.
That's true, yeah. The
traffic and
yeah.
crime.
Yeah. So the San Francisco one is from July 12th to 16th. Seattle, Washington, 21st to 23rd. Phoenix, Arizona, August 4th through 6th. Houston, Texas, 25th to 26th of August. Orlando, Florida, September 22nd to 23rd. Chicago, Illinois, September 29th through 30th. And New York, October 20th to October 21st.
So the closest one for us is California.
Yeah, looks like it's about $38 for the early bird price and $41 for a regular ticket price, 46 day of. So if you live anywhere near that, I think that would be
give
a fun
us a
thing.
Ride and we'll totally get
Yeah, give us a ride and we'll buy your ticket. And give us, if you guys try it out, let us know how it is. I mean, how awesome is it? I mean, is it something that all Final Fantasy players can enjoy, or is it something that 14 players would have to enjoy? So that is a good difference to make. So there's a June update that's going to add Off-Road Regalia and the DLC episode Prompto.
Oh, I like that picture of the Off-Road Regalia.
Yeah, it's got some big tires on it. Regalia Type D is what it's called. It's an off-road style customized version of the of our great Regalia. It's
pretty sweet.
Yeah, it is. They're doing a lot of DLC shit for this game. It's a little crazy, but All right, so we do have some Dissidia Final Fantasy exclusive gameplay that was revealed for IGN at E3. I'm just going to kind of skip through this real quick so that we at least get an idea of what this game looks like.
Okay. KT Koei Tecmo Games.
All right, let's go. It looks pretty similar to the first one.
It looks like some FF15 stuff. Yeah, it looks a lot like the original Dissidia, just like better graphics and
probably bigger maps too.
Probably.
I only saw Caleb playing Dissidia, so I'm not 100% sure. But
It's okay, we'll get to it.
We will get to Dissidia, and we'll even get to this one. So that's an exciting to have one more game, right?
It keeps putting us back.
It does. So we also at E3 we got a Monsters of the Deep Final Fantasy.
This is the
VR
biggest
thing.
piece of news this week.
You're welcome to join me.
Let's watch this trailer. So we got the boys back, right? First person fishing game.
Hey, you got
There's nothing more metal than fishing.
Don't let up.
That's the soundtrack we're getting right now.
Got a little radar thing.
You gotta fish his cock.
Look at the size of that thing. Almost there. Keep going.
That fishing rod is not gonna hold.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, when I saw that when I was watching E3. I was like, dude, just...
Okay, so people have told me that is a DLC and not its own standalone game. I'm not sure where they're getting that information, but if it is a standalone game, then...
We technically have to play it. And if it is not a standalone game, then we do not have to play it. So if it is a DLC, we ain't playing it. Yeah, I'll probably still play the other ones, but we're not going to play it officially for the show.
No, yeah, that's what I mean. I don't want to buy a big VR thing.
Yeah, what are those, like $400?
Yeah, too much for this podcast.
Each member of Nude Clan would have to toss in a nice fresh $100 bill, and we could just like take turns on the VR. I know what Craig is going to use it for, so I don't want that fucking thing back after that. Like, it ends with Craig.
I got a new cell phone, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did.
Nice.
And considering getting that Google Cardboard and trying some stuff out.
Nice, yeah. Dude, it's the future, right?
That's right. and I'll be stuck in that virtual world like I've been afraid of.
Yeah. So Stormblood, June 20th, official launch for Stormblood. You can currently access it if you pre-ordered with the early access. There are a couple listeners. Alistair has been playing the shit out of it from what I've read in the chat here. Most of the Free Company guys seem to be really into it. So enjoy that, guys. Enjoy it while it's still fresh, and let us know what you think of the Stormblood. I mean, it's exciting. We haven't had a 14 expansion for a couple of years, so it's it's a big deal whenever it comes out.
What?
Yeah, we got another trailer here from E3. It's Final Fantasy 15 Universe. Gameplay footage captured on various platforms and at various stages of development.
Subject to change. I'm glad they put that in the...
Yeah. It's because they know better.
They've learned.
Final Fantasy 15. The evolution continues. Final Fantasy 15, available now.
Is it having a sequel? I'm confused.
Anyway, backstory. I think it's just celebrating the overall universe. Brotherhood Final Fantasy 15. Available online for free. And on disc for not free. CG capture film. Our feature film. The wonderful.
Capture film?
Yeah. Kingsglaive Final Fantasy 15. Okay, so it's like a celebration, right? We're celebrating 15. New story content. Okay, great. Thank you.
DLC.
Thank you for charging me more, Square. Thank you. So episode Prompto stuff. He's a Ruski. We already knew that.
Cool. Okay, free updates and content.
The Regalia Type D.
This is awesome!
And then this is where they drop it.
What is
King's Knight, man.
It's going to be on phones?
It's the game they talk about in the game.
This is totally like King's Knight.
Isn't that the game on the PS4? Am I crazy?
No, it's not.
Oh, is that King's Tale?
Yeah, it's something.
Like
I can't actually wrap my head around what is what. Supports Project Scorpio, so they're upscaling. And then now we get the VR announcement. This is where it happened. And I was like, God, what the... Okay. So it's like...
that was a big load of nothing.
Pretty much. So the 15 universe keeps expanding. They're celebrating that. They made a big trailer at E3. They announced a couple new things. One of them mobile. One of them requiring a slightly expensive VR headset, dealio, that I want, but don't really want. It's a strange situation with that. I don't know, dude. It's I don't know if fishing is a thing I want to do, like VR fishing. It seems excessive, but it could be fun. We do have another trailer here for episode Prompto. Take a look at this bad boy. It's the trailer cast, Ultima. For the upcoming episode Prompto. I composed Prompto's theme song and other songs in the game. Usually when I'm asked to create game music, the director or producer would ask me, can you make something like this or like that movie? They'd usually have something specific in mind. But with episode Prompto, I wasn't told to make something like so-and-so. Rather, they gave me a lengthy explanation, talking about Prompto's background.
Remember he was a fat kid who liked photography?
Yeah.
That's what this is reminding me of.
Yeah, definitely. His backstory, his upbringing, and so forth. So I just built up my image from there. I guess I felt pressured by their
期待
expectations.
されててこうプレッシャーもあるというかなんていうのかなこう
So I
すごく
fucked up.
試されてるみたい
Yeah,
な
it kind of felt like I was being put to the
まあ
test.
気がいい
So I ended up putting a lot of effort into this. Oh, that's good. I
プロ
mean,
ンプトは
in the main game, Prompto is this happy-go-lucky guy
まあちょっと
who's kind of a mood maker and
キャラクター
always
だったんですけれども
upbeat.
今回語ら
But in this story,
Once a fat kid, always a fat kid.
yeah, we learn that he's got a lot of
意
depth.
外な一面
So we get to see the other side of him that's unexpected.
まあ配信がもう少し
Since this episode is coming out soon,
少し
I'd like
で
everyone
すけども
everyone
それまでどんなお話なんだ
to look forward to the story
楽しみ
and see what we have in store. I never even used the guns in Final Fantasy 15. Like, I know you can scope in and all of that, but
Yeah, I didn't use it at all.
I never even touched it, and that looks like a big focus for this. I mean, he's obviously the guy who likes his guns.
意外なところも楽しみ
So I don't know how that's gonna feel, because I just never picked up the
まあ僕自
the
身
sniper rifle. A few people on the stream kept asking me to, but
15のファンの方がどういうふう
I
に
just didn't care to.
楽しみにしてたりするので
So he's just talking about the music. Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, we got a nice little image there. He's extra Russian. No beard though, so lame. There's another video for extra gameplay footage for episode Prompto.
Eh.
I don't really want to watch that, so we're not gonna. Apparently, Dissidia Final Fantasy NT's story is going to take place after the PSP game's story, so
So
It
instead
is
of being a
a-
prequel to Dudekheim,
yeah, no prequel to Dudekheim. There's a wonderful article about getting the developers, how everything was started, simplifying the HUD for the game. If you guys want to check that out,
Dissidia.
that's on. Yeah, for Dissidia Final Fantasy NT. You can check that out on the website, or just going to Silicon Era and searching for the article there. I don't want to read it because I don't care enough. But I am excited to play some next-gen Dissidia, though, to be honest. I think it'd be... I don't really get into Final Fantasy or fighting games. I'm obviously really into Final Fantasy, but... so Dissidia, to me, before, just seemed like a fan service kind of thing.
Which it totally is.
Yeah, and I never...
You're not
just-
wrong.
I just never got it, so I, never experienced it. But I think it will be nice to see how it stacks up to Mortal Kombat now that they're making one that's very modern. And we'll see how it feels compared to some of the other fighters that our friends try to get us to play, but I am just awful at, so...
Okay.
Meh,
All right. Well, let's whine about movies.
let's do it. Speaking of Russian, that was an amazing Japanese-Russian impersonation last week. Nominated for Best Review. Yeah, thank you. That's that guy's very niche. Japanese-Russian man. Very confused.
He's not confused.
He's like, do I want to be a socialist? Do I want to be communist? What do I want to be? What do I want to be? What do I want to be?
What do you want to be?
I don't know. I don't know, but it's still too fucking hot in here. Hang on one second. I'm gonna get some water.
God, it only went down 1 more degree. What is this? You think it's not working again?
No, it's
Yeah, I can feel it in the vent. There's. I guess it is taking its time, especially if you have all the vents closed. How dare you put the man who's not even here above?
Well, when he is here, he will be above.
There you go. I got Atlas Rise stuck in my head. Listen to that album on the way to the train station today. Not the whole album. That'd be a long ride to the train station.
Yeah.
But I got there like 15 minutes early, so I just sat in the car and listened to music. Ready when you are. Oh, it's a King's Tale, by the way, for the one on PS4. But King's Knight is just going to be a mobile game, so we won't have to do that one.
Yeah. Did you see any cough drops sitting up here?
No, I don't think I moved any medicine of any kind.
Fuck. My throat's getting raped. I got a lot of pod to go. I'm glad that we're gonna get to witness the birth of a new pod today.
It's just a pilot. If it turns into that Zelda podcast pilot that Craig and Dylan did,
we won't.
it will be. Might remain unpublished.
Or we'll just keep making them do it again and again until they get it right.
Yeah. Keep doing it.
No one's coming.
No one's coming. All right. You ready?
Yeah.
Start us off.
Okay, so everybody knows how Joe and I feel about the Final Fantasy feature films.
Oh, they're terrible.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part, yeah.
I kind of like Spirits Within, but even then, I don't know if it's a movie that I would give a 3 out of 5 stars to. So like it would still be rotten on Rotten Tomatoes from me, probably, but just barely.
All right,
just barely. I think I gave Kingsglaive 2 stars, 2 or 2.5, which I know you think is way too high.
I think I gave it a half star.
Well, you said it was one of the worst movies you had seen last year.
It was the worst. It's worse than the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon sequel.
Oh, okay.
I put it on my blog as the worst movie of 2016 from 2016.
Okay. I think
that I had seen. I didn't see everything.
Yeah. You got to see that Independence Day, dude. I shit you not. It is awful.
I did watch Bad Grandpa the other day, and that was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It did make me laugh really hard once, though.
Okay.
So it's still better than Kingsglaive.
Kingsglaive made me laugh a few times. I
At it?
Yes, at it, not with it.
Yeah.
So what is it about the Final Fantasy movies to you that makes them so bad? Because to me, it just seems like we don't have...
And we're generalizing here. There are good things about them. You can listen to our reviews from the past.
Yeah. This is a complete generalization of the movies as a whole. We have, of course, like Joe said, we've covered the Final Fantasy V movie. We've covered Advent Children. We even did a drunk commentary on Advent Children. We've done all sorts of shit for the movies. We reviewed all of them so far officially. So today is... everything we say about them is justified and documented, well documented in the past.
Okay.
And it's, for me, there's like a lack of, almost like a lack of plot in a way, and like a lack of storytelling ability. Like there is no arc to these movies. It's just action sequence after action sequence, and it's almost like we're hitting that peak all the time, and it just dumbs it down in a way to me. It's something similar to Michael Bay. It's like the climax is the entirety of the movie.
Much less entertaining.
Oh, definitely less entertaining than the Michael Bay films. And, there's nothing greater than seeing The Rock like cook a man outside of a warehouse. He's like, all right, take care of the body, and he's like turning the leg over and shit.
It's the hand. He has a hand with the tongs.
Yeah, and he's like waving at that one chick who's checking him out. And Mark Wahlberg's like, what are you doing? Yeah.
The female characters are more rounded out though in the Final Fantasy movies than in the Michael Bay.
That is true. Yes, they do get some good stuff.
A little less sexist, but only a little.
Yeah.
Okay. There are multiple things wrong with the Final Fantasy movies as they stand, and I am not so much talking about the FF5 sequel, Legend of the Crystals, as I am talking mostly about Spirits Within, Advent Children, and Kingsglaive. I don't think it's so much about having too much action. I think it's actually more about having too much story and too much plot. Especially thinking about Advent Children and Kingsglaive.
Yeah.
There's about a billion different storylines. They don't take the first 10 minutes of the movie to set up the world, which is super useful in a high fantasy world movie.
Yeah.
Okay, there's only so many good fantasy films. In fact, there's hardly any good fantasy films, but there's a couple, right? There's like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
There's Conan the Barbarian, I would argue, is a good one. Kind of starts falling off midway through the second act, but it's still like a decent movie.
Yeah, I love that movie.
And and Lord of the Rings
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and Harry Potter. And there's probably a few more that I'm forgetting there. But the fantasy genre, unlike let's say another high BS genre like the sci-fi genre, there's less good fantasy movies.
Right.
This is Final Fantasy, so it's a mix of sci-fi and fantasy. I get it, whatever. But it takes place in a totally different world most of the time. You need some time for setup. They don't give us fucking 2 seconds of setup in Kingslave.
Yeah, and I would say in Advent Children, it's even more egregious because we've played Final Fantasy VII at this point, watching this movie. If you haven't,
I was about to say, with those movies, think about the beginning of the movies. Sorry, we'll backtrack. Conan the Barbarian, what does it start with? Starts with on black, a prologue of a dude setting up the world and going, this is the tale of high adventure.
yeah,
And then it sets up the world. It sets up, okay, wow, we're in like a Norse sort of thing, and we get it. We get what's going on. The first act of Conan the Barbarian is an amazing set of filmmaking. The rest of it's kind of standard, but the first act is amazing. What does it start with in Lord of the Rings? Schweiss.
building the world.
It builds the world. It starts
The
with
world
Sauron. It gives you a fucking map. It tells you where everything is.
Yeah.
It gives you context for everything. Lord of the Rings especially is really good because despite it being one of those things, and I have my own issues with fantasy novels, especially, something I like to call termy. There's too many fantasy terms usually in like high fantasy stuff. But the Lord of the Rings movies, movie makers realizing that not everybody is a high fantasy viewer who will watch these things, keeps the high fantasy stuff to a minimum. And it's a lot more like you're watching. There's a fantasy element to it, but it's a lot more like you're watching a war movie from a historical epic rather than
Right. Yeah.
high fantasy. And then they slowly add in the fantasy elements halfway through the first movie. They show us it, but they start adding a little bit more and more as the movie goes on. And then you can take it more in the sequels. You can
Right.
have
Yeah.
more
You can do whatever you want in the sequels. Almost.
more
You
of the
set
high
it up,
fantasy
yeah.
stuff. And then, let's see, Wizard of Oz starts in the regular world, and then she's introduced.
Yeah,
To
as
the crazy
almost
world?
like a Final Fantasy X Tidus, like we're all
Okay.
introduced at the same time. Good storytelling.
Advent Children does start off with a prologue, but it doesn't introduce us to the world as it is very well. If you're
Yeah.
a new viewer, especially, not saying that you would be. So I guess like Advent Children, it's kind of forgivable. Kingslave, however, no forgiveness on Kingslave. You're thrust in there. You're automatically like, oh, you better like this guy in this battle right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck is going on? And you lost your audience at part one. So there's not the simplicity of storytelling that needs to be done for that kind of high fantasy movie automatically off the bat. They suck at setup. And then they also have too many complex things going on in all their movies so far. And it has like 6 billion different characters, and you just can never latch onto a single one because there's just too much going on. It's too much chaos.
Yeah. One thing that really bugs me about Advent Children especially is that we come into this world, and I mean, until recently, you and I didn't even really understand what the stigma was, what actually happened, like what is setting
What
this
the
up.
fuck is
And
this?
like, why is Rufus alive? Like, that was not something that was added in the film. It was just like, oh yeah, he's alive, right? You remember, don't you? I'm like,
Yeah.
well, no, I don't fucking remember because he's dead.
If we think of Advent Children as a sequel, then those things definitely need to be explained.
Yeah, and it's not. And it was explained in like a Japanese novella, for God's sake. Like, and then you throw the movie out in North America, and like that bugs me to no end, right? And it also bugs me that it starts off and like the characters just feel different. So it's like, yeah, I mean, don't watch it unless you know Final Fantasy VII, but also kind of just don't watch it if you really love the characters in 7. To me, they're like a little warped. And one other thing is the complete edition, especially, has like 5 introductions to the film. Like, oh, they had like a bunch of openers.
And we're supposed to automatically care about like,
yeah,
what's
and
going
it's
on.
there is no build up. We don't feel for the characters, and I mean that's something that the games do really well for the most part. They build that character. They're like, here's what happened to Rydia. This is what happened to her village. This is Rydia, and they're like, oh, I like Rydia. Rydia's got a cool story. I feel for her. I can see why she would do what she's done. Here's Sephiroth's backstory. Oh, it's great. He's a little bit crazy, but he's got some motives, and I can back it. I feel like it's realistic enough. I mean, Noctis, we've got the backstory. We've got the daddy issue stuff. We've got him like wanting to go on his own, do his own thing, wants his independence. That
I would argue there's another part of the first act that's missing out of 15, but that's not missing. You're right. That first part where it's him and the father.
Yeah. And it's not just and the thing that I see a lot of is when I'm shitting on these movies, right? I see a lot of like, oh well, they're foreign. It's a foreign film, so it might be lost in translation, or it might not come over quite the same way. And I'm like, well, no, because I've watched like 6 Akira Kurosawa movies, and they're all fantastic. It's not because it's foreign. It's because the structure is bad in a way. And like honestly, when we ranked our favorite movies, one of them isn't even canon. And one of them isn't even canon. It's the Last Order, right?
Last Order, yeah.
And that was one of the ones that we liked a lot. And it's not a canonized story. And Square Enix didn't even do it. Like they paid somebody else to do it.
That's the thing I brought up before we started this episode. Like, what's wrong with the Final Fantasy movies? And I'm like, well, the real thing that's wrong with it is that usually, and Spirits Within and the non-canon ones are the exceptions here. Usually, it's because they are people who are used to writing cutscenes in a video game instead of writing movies that are put on these projects. So with Advent Children, it was created by Nomura. He was the big head of that movie. In Kingslave, I think it's once again created by the people in the studio, like
the same director who did Advent Children did Kingslave. Okay. He directed the movie.
So my issue is that cutscene storytelling, I don't believe is quite the same as movie storytelling. With cutscenes, you're dealing with a balance between gameplay, and some people argue what the balance is. So
right.
Take that as you will. You're dealing with a balance between gameplay and the reward of the cutscene. And the cutscene isn't a reward if you don't have the gameplay. If you try to watch the Final Fantasy games just as cutscenes, which you can do on YouTube.
Yeah,
there's like Final Fantasy 13, the movie.
The movie, yeah.
6.5 hours of cutscenes.
God, I would kill
just
myself.
Put back to back to back. And it doesn't... Now, 13 may not be... So let's talk about 10, which is more beloved, I think. So if you watch all 10 hours of Final Fantasy X's cutscenes in a row... You'll get the story, but the pacing will be off. It'll just be too much. It'll drag you down. Part of what makes the game good is that there is a balance, or not, depending on your opinion. In my opinion, it's pretty balanced. There's a balance between gameplay and the story elements, the cutscenes.
Yeah, right.
And especially with like the PS1 games where you had cutscenes that were text boxes, and those are kind of interesting to go through, and then there was like the reward of the CG cutscene. Yeah. You need that in this type of video game, I believe. But if you get the people who are just used to making that kind of CGI cutscene and thinking like, oh, people love our cutscenes, thus we know how to write a movie.
Yeah.
Like, no, you don't. You really don't. I think you can have about 1 billion different story threads going on in a video game, and some people will be okay with it. I get kind of bogged down when we play like FF11 or FF14, and it's just too much.
Yeah.
There's too many characters, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? But you can, I believe, deal with like FF6 had like 12 different characters, right? You can have more subplots going than you can in a 2-hour movie, or in this case, probably an 1.5-hour movie.
Yeah, you can, and it's for me. I don't know. It's just like an endless action sequence for most of it, and there's nothing, like you said earlier. There's nothing to really latch onto. Like Kingslave starts out, and we are immediately fighting. There is a guy who sounds kind of like Ray Romano, right? Mm-hmm. Who's there? There's a guy that.
But I think they're trying to set it up like a 007 sort of thing. You always set up a 007 movie with a fight, but you yeah, it takes place on Earth, and you already know who 007 is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know. It's rough. I feel you with the 14 thing though. Like when we watched the story content for 1.0's storyline for Final Fantasy 14, like that was brutal.
Oh yeah.
Definitely worse than watching one of these. But I do think you're onto something with the fact that the cutscenes only work as cutscenes because of what you had to do to get there, like the satisfaction of the payoff of the cutscene, like that. There is
and the timing of it. It's usually like after some like ridiculous boss, or you get to a new area, and then it's suddenly like, oh, cutscene as a reward.
Yeah.
Now there are some games that there's cutscenes back to back, like FF13, and they don't feel like a reward. They feel like a slog.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
And so they thought they were writing a movie, and they weren't. I would say that the Final Fantasy movies, even Spirits Within, I think is a better movie as a movie, probably because it had movie people behind it, as opposed to game people behind it trying to make a movie. Not saying that there can't be someone who makes video games who can't make a good movie. It just has not been the case with Square Enix.
Yeah, and I mean, it hasn't really been the case carrying over a video game to film ever. Like most video game movies are garbage, right? Like most people
so
don't.
far as we've watched them through Nude Clan, because we watched Double Dragon, Super Mario Bros, and 2 Mortal Kombat movies so far, and Street Fighter.
Yeah,
that's right. So we watched 5 video game movies, and we're watching all the live action theatrically released video game movies in a row. That's part of our thing for our other show. They're all terrible.
Yeah, they are.
And those do have movie people behind them.
They do. Yeah, they have
for the most part.
Except for that U-Bowl, but I guess he's a movie person.
He is a movie
but,
person.
Yeah, infamous for being awful. It's even then they fail, but I feel like these ones they fail even harder because it just feels like a block of just madness. Like there's just too much going on. There's nothing to really gather. You have to watch the movie multiple times to really understand. Okay, what was going on with this plot line.
I didn't understand Advent Children until 2 weeks ago. In my mind, it's like,
yeah, I'm still like, I don't get it. If
still
someone asks
something
me,
like, why the fuck is Kadaj this guy? Why is Kadaj looking for Mother? What?
Sephiroth's
what does
alive?
it do?
Like what is going on?
What
Like,
does it do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sephiroth's in the live stream, and it's okay. All right.
Yeah, and that was
Thanks
awesome.
for putting that in the fucking novel.
Yeah,
by the way.
Yeah. Thank you, Livestream, for finally enlightening us on
thank
this.
you.
It's crazy that they don't put that kind of stuff into the movie. Like most people wouldn't have read the On the Way to a Smile stuff.
No.
Like that was released in the complete edition of Advent Children, which was released later, and we finally got access to all of the story stuff. So, like, at least with 15, at least what they did with Final Fantasy 15 and Kingsglaive and Brotherhood, they released Brotherhood. They released episode by episode, right? And that was fine. That was a good format. They released Kingsglaive before the game, and then they released the game. So, like, it had an established order to where we could get behind, like, oh, this happens then. Like, obviously, when Noctis is a child, that's his childhood, and everything is clearly a prequel because nothing's gone to shit yet in the anime. But they released it in a way that made sense. But with Advent Children, we have the movie, the original movie, and then we have the complete edition, which when you buy the complete edition, you know what you're going to do first? You're going to watch the movie, right? And then you might go through the extra stuff.
Right.
So you're going to do that, and then you're going to realize, oh, well, there's an episode, blah, blah, blah. Maybe we should look into these. Oh, there's only one on the disc. The rest are, Japanese. Translate them. They're just books, novellas.
Right.
Then you get to translate. You get some YouTube channel to wonderfully translate the things, and then you finally get to consume the media. And then years later, years after I had seen this movie, I finally know what the fuck is happening in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. No clue up until then. If someone asked me what is going on, I couldn't answer it. And I have a Final
you can
Fantasy
kind of
show.
get it. Like, you're kind of like, okay, this is this. But you don't know exactly, like, the mechanics. That was always something behind it where it's like, okay, Sephiroth is coming back through Kadaj.
Yeah, but how?
But how?
Yeah, it's like you guys...
Through Mother. Like, what? That's not an answer.
Yeah, and they love to explain, like, how shit happens a lot of times. But Not in that case. So, I mean, I guess the big thing that makes them, and honestly, the animated ones I feel like are a lot stronger.
They are. I think Brotherhood is stronger. I think even the Final Fantasy V movie is a stronger movie than Advent Children or Kingslave.
Yeah.
Spirits Within for me is kind of in the middle now. I'm not sure what I ranked it a while ago, but right now I feel like it's somewhere in the middle. Like I feel like that was made by movie people. It's still kind of a messy movie. And it falls flat in like a lot of the comedy bits.
Yeah.
And who knows why, but I guess you would have to break apart that movie. But that movie has 3 acts in it. It has a central character with who's trying to do something, which is kind of in general what you want for most movies. Not all movies, but most movies are kind of that way. So at the end of the first act, Aki wants to get rid of these creatures or whatever, and we'll move on from there. And there'll be some kind of spine, and there is a spine in Spirits Within, or she wants to find Gaia or heal the planet or something. I can't remember right now. But there is something central in Spirits Within that Advent Children doesn't really have. Who is? I guess Cloud is the main character of Advent Children, but what does Cloud assuming he's an active protagonist, what does Cloud want to do?
Yeah, just find out about what's happening. It's set up like so.
It's not a very clear goal.
Yeah.
Also, you're supposed to have sympathy from the previous piece of media, but the previous piece of media was not a movie. So you have to create a new sympathy with this new CGI Cloud. Which I would argue is part of the problem, and so you don't have sympathy or empathy. That's a big thing with these, actually. So when you're setting up a character, first off, we do need to set up the world at the beginning of a movie. It doesn't really matter what movie. If you don't know where the fuck you don't know where you are, and you're going to be lost. And then you usually have a character that you need to somehow be emotionally pulled into, and that can be the main character, and it doesn't necessarily have to be them, but it usually is them or a side character or something that you're emotionally attached to that'll take you through this movie. And the way you get emotionally attached to them is usually through some sort of sympathy for them, or maybe you can look up to them. So the first thing, there's something called Save the Cat, which a lot of screenwriters know. Save the Cat is like somewhere in the first act, you're going to have your main character save a cat. He's going to do something good that'll make you sympathize with him or empathize with him. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is have your character suffer meaninglessly. So if your character suffers, you feel bad for that character, and that's the first part of you getting roped in, and usually there's a couple things that happen, and then you're with the character throughout the rest of the movie.
Right. Kingsglaive starts out in a war that we don't really understand.
It's a war that we don't understand at all. There's no wide shot saying that this is this country, and then this is what happens between them, which is infuriating. So the setup's already fucked. Nyx is already awesome. You can't really sympathize with someone who's amazing already. I guess you're supposed to empathize with Luna Freya. I guess she's probably the best character in that respect.
In 15 itself.
In Kingsglaive. But still, it's just not strong enough, and I blame setup and bad two-dimensional characters, frankly. And I think they're all like that. I think some of these video game makers may look at these movies like cutscenes, and that with video games, you are playing the characters. So I wouldn't argue that that's where you would get most of your sympathy from, but you do have some sort of attachment to them because of that. So maybe there's something there why cutscenes work better as cutscenes as opposed to watching them as a movie. It's really just a mess.
Yeah, it is, and it's painful though, because we have a lot of our listeners really love Advent Children and Kingsglaive, and love to give it 5 stars, and they're always, a lot of people are really all about these, and I mean they are fun as an FF fan. There is an element of enjoyment in Advent Children, I would say. Complete, I don't really ever want to watch again, but the Advent Children itself is a fun, action-packed movie. But, the tough part is that I've watched a lot of movies, and I can't just look at a movie and say, oh, well, that's just for fans. That's fine. Like, no, it's either a good movie or it is not a good movie. And I know that's subjective, but I am going to subject whether or not it is a good movie or a bad movie. And that's the tough part. It's like, well, the critic in me says, no, it's awful. But the Final Fantasy fan in me says, yeah, it was kind of cool seeing Cloud.
Not sure if it worth the
CG.
millions of dollars to make the movie as it is.
Yeah, probably not. But, it's a fun little fan fiction kind of a thing. And it works. It works in that respect. But the movie lover within me cannot accept it. And it's...
falls flat.
Yeah, it's just like unrewarding. Like there's no sort of build. You don't feel like nice. You finally made it. You saved the day. You did it. It's like they're almost set up as almost like a Mary Sue kind of a character where they're just awesome. We're just awesome. Everyone's awesome here. And it's like that's not a strong character. You're not a strong character because you're actually strong. You're a strong character because you have good motives. You have a good backstory. You've been built up. You can lose, but you can persevere and win. That is what makes you a strong character, not I can kick the shit out of everybody.
All right. So Matt Damon can kick the shit out of everybody in Bourne Identity, but he's obviously has some flaws and he has things that you sympathize with.
Yeah,
like you're like,
loss.
oh my god, he lost his memory.
His girlfriends always die.
That's right. So you feel for the character in some way,
and
even though he's awesome.
Never loses.
That's right.
Kicks the shit out of somebody like a minute and a half long, like one shot, just beating the shit out of somebody. Like great movies, by the way. And yeah, you can still create someone that is epically badass that has dimensions behind it, but they just can't. I don't know what.
Or they
is.
just haven't yet. I don't know if it's really a good idea for them to keep pumping money into these movies. I think Final Fantasy. Look. There's a lot of things that are movie-like about Final Fantasy since FF7 because they added the CG cutscenes, made them very movie-like. They're just assuming that they can make a good movie out of that material. It hasn't proved to be the case. They could try to do another sequel to another game via movie, but I don't know if I trust them to do so.
Yeah, I don't know. What Final Fantasy would you like? What would be a good movie? Like as far as like the plot is concerned. I mean, would you want to remake a game into a movie, or would you want to do like a sequel? Like
I think you would do. I think the best you could do is make one of the games into a movie. I'm not sure if it would be a great movie, but I think FF6 could probably be. You could make a movie out of that. I think you do have a main character. Her name is Terra.
Yeah,
she has a want.
Yep, Scarlett Johansson.
Just to find love, and there's something there, right?
Yeah,
there's some kind of thread going through the whole thing. But there's a good midpoint when the Earth is destroyed and they have to go find everybody else and get Kefka or whatever. You could do that as two movies. Who knows?
Yeah, you could.
And I've talked about that before. I'm like, hey, I would like to make FF6 as a movie. That might be interesting. But then again, maybe it is just best as a video game.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, we've been plagued with bad movies based on video games since day one.
Yeah, they never get better.
No, they just don't. And it's like they're just so poorly done. And I don't know. It's just a bad translation. It's almost like getting mad at a movie or a TV show because it didn't follow the book. Like that's
There's a quote I read Hitchcock Truffaut last year when I was trying to make that short film, and I just read it because it's like the famous book where Alfred Hitchcock kind of spells out his entire process.
Right.
And I remember one part he's like, Truffaut asked, is there a novel like a classic novel that you would like to turn into a movie? And he's like, no, because good novels don't necessarily make good movies. They don't necessarily make good cinema. So assuming a good video game is going to make a good movie, I think is an equal or an almost equal thing. Like a movie has a certain way of storytelling that serves the movie. And there can be a trashy novel like The Godfather, which is a trashy novel.
A lot of people love it.
Okay, well, there's like 3.5 chapters of her like grabbing at his dick, right? In
Oh,
The
really?
Godfather. Wait, have you read The Godfather?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay.
I own it. I just
So
haven't.
there's the relationship with Sonny and the girl, right?
Yeah.
And there's a huge section of that book where she's like, they're just having sex all the time in the novel. It's really graphic, and at least it seems graphic for like a late 60s book.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the book that it's from. The Godfather, one of the greatest movies of all time, right? The book that it's adapted from, kind of just a trashy novel.
Yeah.
But it was able to make a great movie. There was a great movie in there. A great novel not necessarily has a great movie later on in it. And unfortunately, like, good video games are usually the popular video games, and there's probably not a great movie coming out of the good video game.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen many movies like Halo. The Halo movie has been canceled and restarted like a million times. That one they could probably do, but it probably would still suck.
There's a script out there for that somewhere.
Yeah. It's
Timo
just,
read it, said it was okay. He was just
Yeah.
kind of like, eh.
Well, that could mean anything.
That's
from that
true.
guy.
Yeah, Timo doesn't like 2001 because he's an idiot. So.
Yeah. So
He said lovingly.
Yeah. I think the thing they need to do is either just stop or maybe try something else, kind of like what they did with Spirits Within. Make it a movie that's not necessarily connected to a specific universe. Because first off, you're not going to piss off the fans, right? If it's not connected, it's not a big deal to totally switch one of the characters around.
Unless they're like, well, it has nothing to do with Final Fantasy, which
like
they totally
a lot of
have
people
done
say
for Spirits Within.
yeah, that's true. That's true. Fuck. Okay, make it Final Fantasy-esque, but not connected to the game. So make it a Final Fantasy. Like Spirits Within isn't super fantasy like the games are. It doesn't even come close to that.
Right. Neither is Final Fantasy Unlimited either.
No, it is not at all. But that's also another awful one. But make it a
That one's made by TV people.
I would make it like
there's an example of one that's shitty.
Yeah, I would make it like a really gritty fantasy tale, like something similar to a Lord of the Rings kind of a movie, just Final Fantasy, blah, blah, blah. And
watch it tank at the box office.
Yeah, watch it tank. And
people are like, I didn't see the other Final Fantasies.
We'll get a new CEO, and they'll start another company called, Steam Jogger.
Valve Square.
Valve Square, yeah, some bullshit knockoff. But honestly, it's... I don't even know how they could save it, but I feel like something that's completely separate, something that has Final Fantasy elements in it, maybe like spells, maybe certain things, but it is a high fantasy set in another realm.
Okay, I'll tell you what, I do like Brotherhood for 15.
Yeah,
and the reason I like Brotherhood is because, well, frankly, they're like pretty well made.
Yeah.
They're well animated, they're well written, and you're exploring characters, and it's a television format, so it's all about character exploration, as opposed to a movie, which is about story. Movies are about story, television's still about story, but it's about character. Character is the bigger part. It's not so much about plot. So with television or an episodic format, if you have characters that you liked from the games, that would actually be something that I think you could explore. I think you could do a Final Fantasy VI anime, because that's how they would do it in Japan.
Right.
You could do a Final Fantasy VI or a Final Fantasy VII anime, have it be episodic, have us explore the characters that we already like from the video games more, and I think it would be more successful in that format than it would as a movie.
Yeah, it'd probably cost a lot less too. I mean, it's the budget. I mean, obviously Sakaguchi lost his job over the tanking of Spirits Within. So
movies in general, they're about focus. They have one thing, at least most of the good ones have one thing that they're going for, one thread line. And everything is there to serve that thread line or to serve that one character's journey or serve the theme or whatever. Video games, especially these Final Fantasy games that have like a shitload of characters, that have like a shitload of side plots, you can have side plots in a movie, but they're all to serve the one story.
Right. They don't just randomly occur.
They don't randomly occur.
Yeah.
They usually come together at the end in some fashion.
Right.
Whether or not once like the B plot shows up at the beginning of the second act, and then you get 2 more scenes of the B plot. It has its own special arc, but the last scene of the B plot serves the A plot. Like Han Solo has to go. He's like, oh, I'm gonna go and take care of this Jabba the Hutt thing. But instead, he comes back for the Death Star because he changes his mind. That's like a B plot that like comes together at the end of the at the end of the movie. Final Fantasy with 12 different characters and they're all kind of main characters. It would be rough, or they're very heavy side characters. You would have to cut so much shit out in order to have like something decent. I just think Square Enix should just get out of the movie game.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so.
Yeah, that might be best. I mean, I know a lot of the listeners really love Kingsglaive and Advent Children, but I just don't as a movie guy. I can't watch them.
Kingsglaive is especially awful, guys. I'm sorry, it's awful. Like visually, it's cool, but visually, it's cool doesn't mean shit.
No, it really doesn't.
There are movies from like the 30s that look like shit because everybody just has to stand around because the microphone is in one spot of the fucking frame, and you know the film wasn't as good back then, so it was a little grainier, and the sound isn't very good. There's still. It's still better than watching fucking Kingsglaive, which is a beautiful looking movie, but it's fucking terrible in writing.
There's no payoff for a lot of the action scenes. Like we don't really have.
If you don't care
connection.
what's going on, an action scene doesn't matter.
That's true. Yeah, that is very true.
If you don't care about the characters within the action scene, it does not fucking matter whatsoever.
I mean, yeah, we look at and it's crazy because for me watching.
It's also too long, like of an action scene. It's like fucking 10 minutes. It's Jesus Christ.
It can get pretty crazy. But one thing for me, like watching Game of Thrones, right? A show that as I watch it more and more, I start to see the things that aren't as great, like the candles. Like the candlelight is awful in those early seasons. There's a candle flickering, and
I shouldn't have pointed that out.
It's steady light. I don't even. It's just like I'm looking at them.
You're gonna see that in every movie now.
I'm looking at them, and they're just like they're the sounds coming out of their mouths. Just and I just see the skin. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why? They do it later, though. They do start implementing like actual flame effects and shit. Once they start spending like $1 million an episode, at least. Okay. But there a lot of the fight scenes in those early seasons, especially, not that great, right?
No.
There's a lot of cuts. There's a lot of
Game of Thrones fight scenes are almost always bad,
except for season 6. Season 6 is
Season 6
amazing.
has a great battle scene. But I wouldn't say that it's a great one-on-one fight scene.
I think they've gotten a lot better with it.
They are better. They are better.
They've actually started training people and stuff. But the thing that made those fight scenes so awesome for me, though, even though everyone else, even though Joe was shitting on them, saying they weren't that great because, there's...
The fight choreography was not that good.
No, it isn't. And there are a lot of cuts. There are a lot of cuts because
they bug the shit out of me.
Because they can't do it. They're actors.
You know when an actor is a bad fighter based on how many cuts they do during a fight scene.
Yeah.
Like if it's chaotic fighting and they're trying to it's just yeah.
Yeah, there's a difference between making it look chaotic by cutting a lot and cutting a lot because they actually can't do it.
And that's something that like Hong Kong movies have always had over Hollywood, is that their action scenes are better, at least between like 2 people in a room.
Yeah.
Because the actors seem to be trained more in fighting over there.
Yeah.
And so they're just better.
But what makes those so awesome for me is because I care about the characters that are fighting.
That's true.
I love the characters. So like even though there are a lot of cuts, there's a lot of shit going on when Beric Dondarrion's sword breaks in half and the Hound's fucking blade shoves like nuts deep through his shoulder. That's awesome because I think the Hound is the greatest character of all time. That's why.
Right.
That's what makes the scene awesome, and that's Kingsglaive has the awesome fights, but it doesn't have the awesome characters to back the fight up. So I don't care. It's like got it all wrong. It's backwards. Like it's really good fighting, right? It's great, but I don't give a fuck because I don't care about the character necessarily.
I agree. I totally agree.
All I've seen is them succeed at everything he's done. for the most part. Some of his friends die, sure, but I mean, who gives a shit? And he fails in the end, I suppose, but he succeeds at the same time. So it's like there's just no connection. So as awesome as it is,
movies are mostly about emotional manipulation. And if you're not hooked in, the movie will not be able to manipulate your emotions whatsoever, whether that be like excitement or fear or sadness or whatever it may be. If you don't give a shit about what's going on, the movie will not affect you.
yeah.
So no matter how intense or like how crazy looking the fight scenes are, they're nothing. They're nothing without a good story.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it so hard for them is because, like you said earlier, with a cutscene, you have the story before it, you have the build-up before it. That is the plot.
Yeah, and there's a certain timing thing to it.
And then you
also give video games a little bit of forgiveness if there's something wacky in it. So I don't know. There's a million things.
Yeah, there are, but
So on that depressing note,
yeah.
anything else you want to say, Shwai? Sorry, I cut you off.
Not really. I mean, it's kind of the movies are something that I could probably do without, and I'd like to see him explore anime a little more, though. I mean,
I agree. More Brotherhood type things.
yeah, something that's a little easier to swallow. Only 20 minutes long. Has a good arc.
Get this with Brotherhood. They kind of set up the world in the first episode. And then they set up each character one episode at a time. Each character has their own episode. And it's only setup. It's all set up for the character. So you understand the character's backstory, and then you like, okay, so our first episode, we're going to hook into, I believe, Gladiolus. Oh, I think.
I don't remember
I can't remember the order. And then we understand his whole story. And we see his tragedy in his past, and we see the person he's become, and we see the thing that he's going to do next.
Right.
Now we care about Gladiolus. Now let's move on to the next character, and then the same sort of thing.
Right, yeah, and then you play
I think
the game.
episodic television format is perfect for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it would be a cool...
There was more characters set up in one of those fucking things than there was in the entirety of Kingslave.
Yeah, there was. And like when that chick died, I can't even remember her name because she's so... Like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it's like I don't feel anything.
Luna Freya?
No, not Luna Freya. The girl in Kingslave, like Core or something like that. No, Core is the dude.
Yeah,
in
you
15.
see her for one. You see her for the action scene, and then they're together at a bar, just hanging out, and then she's dead.
Yeah, and then she's dead. And then we get that van that pulls up, and she gets the freaking Cosby pills, and they just destroy her. But yeah, it's there's nothing there. Like, and yeah, it's an emotional breakdown for one of the main characters.
They do try, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I felt nothing.
We're already too late into the movie for that thing to work.
Yeah. Do some build up, but stick to the anime. I would say don't fuck around.
Just
with
simplify. Just make it like a regular cookie cutter movie, and that's going to be better than what they've been trying to do.
True, but will it be better for the fans of the game?
I don't know. That is a good question.
Speaking,
but I am a fan of the game, so fuck that shit.
That's true. Good point. Speaking of question, let's dive into some questions.
Questions for us. We would like to hear from you. You to our forums or contact us on Twitter. Get on and ask your questions. We'll answer them within a week. This is the question segment. Ask and you will receive.
Yeah. So first up from Batman, we have FF Villains, and I'm not going to answer it because this is like a great topic for
We have totally pulled this up and said the same thing before.
Episode.
Yeah.
But this one's right up your alley,
Okay.
Joe. Using guides for playing a Final Fantasy.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and read it.
Graphophobic. I hope this one hasn't been asked before. I do too. I was wondering how you guys feel about using guides when playing Final Fantasy games. When I got into JRPGs first, I always tried to beat the games without looking at anything up. Over time, however, I have developed quite an obsession with 100%ing any game I pick up. And needless to say, that tends to be an impossible feat without the help of a very detailed guide. I'm looking at you, Final Fantasy X-2. And since I often find myself lacking the motivation to finish the same game twice, at least in a short interval of time, I've just gotten used to having a guide next to me from pretty much the beginning of the game. While to some, this might seem like a horrible way of playing, for me, it doesn't actually take anything away from the enjoyment of the game. What do you think?
Well, Schweiss, yesterday I was playing Horizon Zero Dawn.
Okay.
And there was a puzzle that, although I was given a clue, I could not figure out where the fuck to go to find this goddamn spinny wheel thing.
Okay.
To put into the wall to get the puzzle to work so I could open the door and then get my ass shot off by some armored
yeah.
pieces of fucks. Anyway, so, yeah. I did go on IGN and try to look up a guide, but of course the game is too new for there to be really specific shit, like where the fuck that fucking disc is, so I could not figure it out anyway, and I had to figure it out on my own. But I think it took me about 10 minutes of trying it on my own first before I got frustrated and used a guide.
Okay.
And that's kind of in general my timeline for frustration. Like there's an emotional build-up level, some sort of chemical is released in my body of hatred, and it depends on like how bullshit it is. So if it's Bounty Hunter, it gets real bullshit real fast.
Oh yeah, instant guide puller.
Okay, almost instant guide pull, right? So just like the bullshit buildup slowly builds, and it depends on the difficulty, but not just the difficulty. If it looks like I have tried everything, especially, then I am really fucking pissed off. Like I can't physically see anything else in the room to like interact with or to shoot at or to hit. Then I am inching my way up, and I would say it's about 5 to 10 minutes before I look at a guide, but it's almost always, Schweiss, when I am lost in a game.
All right.
And that's something that the first Final Fantasy was like, you're lost automatically.
Yeah.
And so like, guess who pulls out a guide for the first Final Fantasy very quickly?
Oh yeah, day one for me.
Yeah,
I whipped
almost
out a
the
guide.
entire time. Lightning Returns, kind of similar. Game doesn't tell you where to go in any reasonable fashion because it just assumes you've memorized the names of every single goddamn thing. Anyway, so I pull out a guide very quickly. Final Fantasy X, no need to pull out a guide. Final Fantasy VIII or anything like that, usually no need to pull out a guide.
Yeah.
Because the game kind of lets you know where you need to go next, and you can do other stuff.
Right. There's usually like if you talk to a certain few people, they'll be like, hey, aren't you going to go here and do this thing that you fucking told me you were going to do a week ago? And you're like, oh, yeah, I can go there.
I am not an auto guide man, as it may seem. I am a guide man when I get frustrated. And I don't allow myself... I don't want to play a game and hate my time.
Yeah.
So if I can just get past this part where I am stuck, usually because I am lost and not because of difficulty, that's when I'll pull out the guide.
Usually.
I will not apologize.
Oh, usually, unless we're playing Final Fantasy 12 Revenant Wings, and then it's difficulty. It's difficulty balls to the wall. I'm getting my ball sack just stomped by this fucking game, and I'm like, I cannot pass this fucking fight. I can't do it. And it's that one is sick. That one I guided not instantly. I was actually pretty decent at the game, but once I got to the fight against the wing chick, nothing in this world prepared me for that fight. Nothing. I switched my build. I switched all of this, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I want to finish this game early because I've got Nude Clan games ahead of me, and I'm far into this one. It's a DS game. It's not that long. I'll work on it. And I spent like 4 hours of one night, my whole night. These are precious hours to me. Time is everything. And I threw it all into this one mission, and I still didn't beat it. You know what that means? That means the next day when I wake up and someone asks me, hey, what did you do last night? The answer is not a fucking thing. I tried to do something. I attempted to do something, but I couldn't do it. For 4 straight hours, I just did nothing. I hit retry, fucking started the mission over again, got my ass handed to me on a silver platter all night. That is infuriating. And I will look up a guide at that point.
I looked up guides for that game very quickly. It was usually after 1 or 2 tries. Then I'd be like, I'm not going to allow myself to get into an emotional state of just anger out of this thing of ones and zeros that is sitting in front of me.
Yeah.
This is not...
It's insane to get mad at it. It really is.
It is. It's a fucking game. Why am I emotionally distressed because of a game? So you know what? It may be a philosophical thing. I may be a fucking cash. I don't give a shit what you call me. I will pull out a guide. It just is when I feel myself getting emotional out of something, I will pull up a guide.
Yeah. It depends on the game for me. Honestly, if I'm trying to platinum something, which has been a big deal this year for me, yes, I'll use a guide. Absolutely, I'll use a guide to look up the trophies, especially if there are missable trophies. That's something I really don't ever want to put myself through. It's having to play a game twice because I missed one thing. Hell no. I'll use it for that, 100%. Special items, sure. If the game kind of tells you more or less, holds your hand like a Far Cry game, one of those open world games, and says, okay, well, here's what you need to do. Here's the quest icons. Here are the hidden item icons. You can look up the trophies online, see what you need to do to get them, and then do it. That's fine. I didn't look up a guide for Primal at all. I have Far Cry Primal, no guide. The only time I looked up a guide for Horizon Zero Dawn, twice. It was to...
I think I looked up a guide when I was trying to look up a certain type of wolf, and that turned out to be fucking nothing because it's still random in that game, but whatever.
Yeah, I looked up a guide to get the super suit in Horizon Zero Dawn, which is awesome, by the way. And I looked up a guide to find out which side quests I needed to finish to unlock a trophy where everyone joins their team for the fight at the end. You have to do like certain optional missions, which I had done most of them, but then I had to actually start a new quest line, and that I looked up the guide, and it saved me the hassle, right? But if I don't have to, I usually won't. For games like Fable, I will just to kind of get like a gauge of where I'm at. And I did that with... Tales of Zestiria as well.
Oh, yeah, I'll look at an IGN walkthrough and like see their chapter listings.
Yeah, I'd be like, I'm
okay,
halfway.
how much do I have in this game?
Yeah.
I do think the only reason I do that, though, is because I have a podcast and I have to beat a game
Yeah, and you're
every
like...
few weeks. And I'm
you're
like, okay, kind of where am I and how much time do I need to spend on this right now?
Right, yeah. That's kind of the thing. So
And
guides
sometimes
for
I'll
me...
be like, fuck it, I'm not going to play it this week, so just put off the episode for 2 weeks like what happened last week.
Yeah, so a lot of times it's just a roadmap. But extra items, stuff like that, for sure. Let's see what the listeners say. Stola says, I would say it's necessary if you're trying 100% starting with FF5. I can't imagine how anyone could finish things in 12, like Bestiary, or figure out the loot combos for the Bazaar, or finding all the materia in 7 if you don't have access to a guide. If you're a cash and do the bare minimum, then I wouldn't see the point of it. Shinra says guides are actually a lot of fun sometimes for FF because there are a lot of hidden areas that you would never visit or know about if you didn't read the guide. Matunica says, I'm the same, but it's a time issue. When I was young, I had loads of time and limited internet access, so I enjoyed playing without a guide. I still remember lots of games, I'm looking at you, point and clicks, where I would spend hours, sometimes days, not making any progress in a game and being completely held back. However, this, I believe, led to me getting a really good memory. I can play games like Monkey Island front to back with no guide because I remember exactly what to do, same with Final Fantasy VII. I know where everything is in the game and how to get it. I always pick up Yuffie in the forest outside of Junon. I own the guide for the game, but have no need to use it.
No need to.
But now I only get to play to and from work on the train, so I like to maximize my time and have a guide ready on my phone for when it's needed. Unless I'm playing 7. He did hashtag guides for time.
I mean, that's why I don't like put the game down and wait till later and keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, number one is because I don't want to be under emotional duress, and number two, kind of time saving.
It is. It can save a lot.
You're
of
still
time.
playing the game. I mean, the problem is, and I have done this occasionally, where it's like, oh, the easiest thing was to do the guide, so I'm just gonna keep doing the guide. Then you get stuck on the guide, and for most games, that's probably not the most enjoyable way of playing because then you're just always looking at the phone,
right,
or the computer screen to look at the guide. I don't know, like Zelda, Legend of Zelda. Right now, I'm looking at a guide like almost the whole time.
Yeah, that's fair.
because I'm looking at a guide to find the first Legend of Zelda. I'm looking at a guide to find the castle, and then I'm looking at a guide to get through the castle.
See, I'll look at it to find the dungeons. I won't look at the dungeon map. I'll figure it out myself inside. It's a bitch though, because like some stuff blows up the walls, and it's like, oh my god. But you know, I feel you. It's too wide, right?
Was not all the responses?
No, one
Okay.
more. Two more, sorry. I have to agree with Matunica on time aspect. When I played 12 in high school, it was fun to learn about all the stuff on my own and to wander around. But with 2 jobs and a family, if I decide to replay the remastered version, I will no doubt use a guide because I want to feel like I accomplished something with the hour I gave to play every other night. I've used a guide in some sort of fashion for every FF game except 7 because I had no internet at that point, and the game had been out for a little while already. Del repeat, top priority is you enjoy playing the game, however you do it. For me, during the first playthrough, I will not use a guide. If the game entices me to do another playthrough, I will use a guide to discover all the things I missed the first time.
Oh, there you go. I got a question for you, Schweiss.
Okay.
Who's better looking, Steve Buscemi or James Hetfield?
Definitely James Hetfield.
Definitely James Hetfield?
Yeah.
Okay, well then it's a tie on Twitter right now.
Oh, really?
So 2 people were saying James is uglier than Steve Buscemi.
Really? Who would say that?
I don't know.
That guy is... that's no contest to me. I'm going to have to find this poll.
Steve Buscemi is one of the weirdest looking people of all time.
Yeah, he
It's
is.
just weird. There's nothing wrong. I mean, he's a great actor. Don't give me that. And James Hetfield's a really good musician, but fucking God. I don't know what's going on here.
I don't know, man.
Anyway. Okay, do you want to do a question from us to you?
Yeah. Yeah, let's dive into that. Great question from us to you this week. What is your favorite Final Fantasy movie? And what Final Fantasy game would you make into a movie? So a little two-sider here.
And why do you think it'll work as a movie?
Yeah, why do you think it will work, and what do you think would make it work?
Sure.
Dive into that. Let us know what game you'd like to see a movie and why. So
Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for this week. We did not get any iTunes reviews, but we're already running pretty long here, so we'll spare you. We'll spare you.
Don't put it like that.
The song, but otherwise, I guess we'll see you next week. YouTube.com/Ultima Final Fantasy, Twitch.tv/Ultima Final Fantasy. You can go to our website ultimafinalfantasy.com. Support us on Patreon. I would say Heaven's Word is about 3 or 4 weeks out before we have a review for that, so stay tuned for that. You can tweet me at Joseph DeGolier.
Me at UFF Podcast.
And wow, what's up?
Oh, one more thing.
Oh, one more thing.
Yeah, that speedrun gamers thing. That is going to be happening on Friday, July 14th. You guys are doing like a St. Jude's Hospital sort of charity stream. They're going to be playing through the entire series. You can find them at twitch.tv/thespeedgamers. Yeah, and watch that event live and enjoy it. We'll see how I'm gonna have to go through and see some 12 tips. See how quickly I can get through that game. But
and if you want a review of Horizon Zero Dawn, it'll be out next week on Nude Clan.
yeah, but until then, live always in the grind.
Oh, come on.
This has been another production of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast. The show was produced by Joseph DeGolier and Caleb Schweiss, with music and editing by Joseph DeGolier, parodies and clips from their respective authors, of course. You can get all of our episodes as well as our Let's Plays at ultimafinalfantasy.com. You can also contact us on Twitter at UFF Podcast, as well as our contact page on our website. Be sure to subscribe and review our podcast. Your reviews may get read on the show, and look forward to the next episode of Ultima Final Fantasy, the Ultimate Final Fantasy Podcast.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on Le Twitch. We're going to jump on Nude Clan here in a little while, so stay tuned for that.